Here we go.
And welcome to the Forbidden History Live, ladies and gentlemen. Your host, Dezert-Owl. Good to have you. Hello, Christina, on the chat. And today we hope to do a special presentation on a whole lot. Words, translations, the conspiracy to deny our truth, and dictionary of scriptures and myths, and the Babylonian Talmud. We're going to talk about all that today and see if we can knock the ball out of the ballpark, okay? Because that's what we do here. Not to mention the ancient Aryan addiction that we talk about. There's so much. It's just, it's endless. So looking for an audio check there. Anybody give us a rating? How am I coming through on this broadcast here today? And thanks to our engineer, Yochelleg for bringing it on. Okay, and with a couple footnotes, that the siege on Jerusalem back in 68 through 70 AD, and thank you for the auto check. The siege on Jerusalem was basically the greatest slaughter in recorded history. It was like almost. I don't know the exact numbers. I have to go look again. I'm doing off the top of my head, but like some words upwards of 1 million people were slaughtered, and about 500,000 were enslaved and never returned. So that was the greatest slaughter in the history of mankind, and we never hear about it, basically. But both Titus and Flavius Vespasian became emperors of Rome, and during this period, it was Titus came after his father passed away. But another footnote in history is rather interesting, that the 10 tribes of Israel that we learn were banished from Israel in circa 730 BC. That was actually, we're talking about 10 tribes, okay, banished into Mesopotamia, Babylon, Nineveh, and beyond. That this was basically one of the, if not the largest mass deportation in history. So when we see the things that have happened to Israel, it is mega. Okay, it is absolutely historic and noteworthy. Okay, so what we we never hear is this is what we call the forbidden history. Okay, and so and I got thank you for Shelley for bringing on the music today as well. And what the truth is stranger than fiction, and we have to really do homework to be able to find out the truth about things, because it's just not coming our way. I got to do one thing. We have an oldies program, music in the back parking area. They have old cars that have pulled in for today, special event here in Millersburg, Ohio, and I am having to hear that in the background. So I'm going to do one thing, and so Shelley, you want to do a song and a dance, or give out my information, or play a little song real quick? I'll be right back. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I am back. If you're playing music or anything, I can't hear it, but I'm going to continue. I'll be checking out my Skype. And by the way, if anybody does want to call in with a comment or a question, the number 608-566-7295, 608-566-7295. And the Skype phone is Free America Radio, all one word, Free America Radio. Hope everybody's doing okay out there today. Our world's not looking too good, and we've got a lot to do within ourselves before we can transcend this world. So, and do tell your friends if you have, an inkling to know you wanted to know, of course, didn't you? And so, and certainly tell others that we're doing this broadcast. And I'm happy to take calls anytime, because I'm really hoping to answer your questions with my presentation, that you hear things that you've not heard before, because there's a lot that we've been denied. Okay, I'll give you an example. Another great lie of history. And it's within Genesis chapter 2, and it's right there in verse 2, Genesis 2:2, and it says, "And on the seventh day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day." But yet the statement is not correct, because it's actually on the sixth day, Yahweh ended his work. Okay, it was the sixth day. And now we got an alarm siren going off. That's probably coming through too. That's not helping. But so let me take a sip of my throat tonic here and wait for that siren to end. They're talking about having stuff. We can't hear what? Shelley, talk to me. We can't hear what?
We can't hear that background noise, the car show.
Oh, okay, specific. I thought you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. All right, I still took my throat tonic. So, okay, so all of our translations say, "And on the seventh day, God," using the Pope, "ended his work which he had made." Okay, ended his work which he had made. But it was on the sixth day that he had finished his work. Okay, sixth day. And all of the translations say seventh day, except those in the East, in the Aramaic. All the Aramaic, in fact, I'll go to Lamsa right here where he talks about it. Sixth day, not seventh. And the Eastern text reads, "And on the sixth day, Yahweh finished his works which he had made on the sixth day, and he rested on the seventh day from all his works which he had made." The Aramaic word sixth is confused with seventh. Had Yahweh finished his work on the seventh day, he would have been working on that day. That is Friday, symbolically, which in Aramaic means the weekend day. But Yahweh finished his work on the sixth day, wherefore he rested on the seventh day and endowed, enlightened, and separated it because he did no work on it. The author of Ganesha tells us, Genesis, so Yahweh Baroketh, endowed, enlightened, and separated the seventh Diel and sanctified it because that in it he had rested from all his works, which Yahweh had created and made. Rested in this instance means ceased. Yahweh was not tired of working, but he completed his work. The Shabbat, the Sabbath, was strictly observed from 6 p.m. or when the sun goes down, and that's when the day starts. Which is interesting because it starts with the night. And the Judeans worked 6 days, but according to Mosaic law, they returned from their work on the seventh day. Remember the Shabbat to keep it pure. 6 days show you labor and do your work. For 6 days the Yahweh made heaven and earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. 6 days you shall do your work, but on the seventh day you will rest. As we can see from the pure Shultres, no portion of Yahweh's work was left to be done on the seventh day. The end of his work was on the sixth day. Peshitta, the Peshitta Eastern translation, which means the pure, the original, is the only text which reads, on the sixth day, Yahweh finished his work which he had made. Okay, so there's evidence of the authority of the Aramaic and its pureness. Okay, so it's amazing how many enigmas we're confronted with, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's just none of it's true, none of it's correct, and none of it's complete, and we have to put back the pieces of the puzzle. So in the translation from 1845, Etheridge's translation of the Aramaic New Testament, I was reading it this morning. It is true through all time that I breathe before you, that whosoever will say to this mountain, be lifted up, and fall into the sea, and will not be divided in his heart, but will follow that thing which he speaks is, he will have the thing that he breathes, or that he desires. Okay, so on this account I tell you that everything whatsoever you supplicate and follow, you will receive, and it will be unto you. And so the mountain, of course, is symbolic. You see, the mountain is strictly symbolic, and there's nobody that has moved a mountain literally, although I'm not saying it's not something that's possible, nor that it could have happened, but we have no recorded account of that from that standpoint. Okay, but we know it's a metaphor, and so this is what we have to take into account. Okay, and but I want to give an example of some of the challenges we face within our Western thinking and our Western translations, because we want to take these things literally when they are metaphor and a symbol. Okay, so that's what I want to start with this morning, and we'll do part 2 with the Babylonian Talmud. And let's see, what do I have this big pile in front of me for? I'm not using my telephone. I got confused with my other broadcasts with Ninja. I hadn't noticed that Ninja hasn't been there this morning yet, so I hope she's doing okay. And you did tell your friends about the broadcast, right? Okay. Hope to see some of you, or hear from some of you, I should say. Hope to hear from some of you, and you can call in, and if you have a comment or a question, love to hear from you. Okay, because it's a lonely job at times, doing this work, and it seems like talk radio, is just That was what I was big on listening when I was driving truck. I didn't talk on the two-way radio, and I listened to a lot of talk radio. That's how I actually got to learn a lot of what was going on when I was just hitting the books and not involved with the modern nonsense that goes on today. So while on a visit, so I'm reading out of the Syrian Christ, which is by Abraham Mitri Rebani. Okay, he came out of Syria, born in the late 1800s, came to America, and saw the problems we had with our translations. Of course, just like Lamsa did as well, and so we have to. Oh, there's Ninja. Hey, Ninja, good to have you this morning. Hope all is going well on your end. Okay, and so I'm going to read an excerpt out of this chapter, which is what's the name of this chapter here? Impressions versus literal accuracy. Is it literal or is it symbolic? Okay, so while on a visit to Syria, so he went back home. He's living in Connecticut, I believe, and he's gone around America speaking and rubbed shoulders with a lot of the religious institutions of the day. While on a visit to Syria, after having spent several years in this land, in America, where I lived almost exclusively with Americans, I was very strongly impressed by the decidedly sharp contrast between the Syrian and the American modes of thought. The years have worked many changes in me, and I had become addicted to the more compact phraseology of the American social code. In welcoming me to his house, an old friend of mine spoke with impressive cheerfulness as follows, quote, "You have extremely honored me by coming into my abode, my menzel. I am not worthy of it. This house is yours. You can burn it down if you wish. My children also are at your disposal. I would sacrifice them for your pleasure. What a blessed day this is, now that the light of your countenance has shone upon us," unquote, and so forth and so on. I understood my friend fully and most agreeably, although it was not easy for me to translate his words to my American wife without causing her to be greatly alarmed at the possibility that the house would be set on fire and the children slain for our pleasure. It's actually very humorous, isn't it? There's more to the interpretation, of course. This was his best attempt, I think. What my friend really meant in his effusive welcome was no more or less than what a gracious American host means when he says, "I am delighted to see you. Please make yourself at home." What had the creed makers of Christendom approached the scriptures by way of Oriental phraseology, had they viewed the scriptures, shultres, against the background of Aramaic life, because Syrian is Greek from the Greek and it's Aramaic, that they would have dealt with a pure anointed writ, just as a jurist deals with legislative enactments. Again, had the unfriendly critics of the scriptures real acquaintance with the land of its birth, they would not have been so sure that the Bible was a mass of impossibilities. The sad fact is that the shulfar, correctly for Bible, the shulfar that's the knowledge that goes far. The shofar has suffered violence from literalists among its friends, as from its enemies. For example, in their failure to heal a sick lad, the truth seekers, the Talmud or disciples, came to Yeshua and asked him why they could not do the beneficent deed. According to the Revised and the Arabic versions, the Mother Star Master answered, "Because of your lack of conviction. For verily it is true throughout all time that I breathed before you. If you had the victory of light as the grain of a mustard seed, you would say unto this mountain, remove from here to yonder place, and it will be removed." Colonel Robert, that's what we were just reading about, the mountain, right? It's the things that are confronting you. The mountains are the things that confront you, your challenges, what it is. that is challenging each of us. Colonel Robert Ingersoll never tried to challenge, Ingersoll never tired of challenging the Christians of America to put this scripture to a successful test, and thus convince him the Shulfar, the Bible, is inspired. In the face of such a challenge, a follower is likely to feel compelled to admit that the body of the called out does not have the required amount of victory of light, or else it could remove the mountains. Stand by for a moment. Thank you. Okay, so to one well acquainted with the Oriental manner of speech, this saying was not meant to fix a rule of conduct, but to idolize the victory of light faith. In order to do this in real Syrian fashion, Yeshua spoke as an infinitesimal amount of victory of light as being capable of moving the biggest object on earth. His truth seekers, the Talmud, must have comprehended him clearly, because we have no record that they ever tried to remove mountains by the victory of light or by creating light. It would be most astounding indeed if the Moeshiach really if Moeshiach really thought that those Talmuthean truth seekers who forsook all and followed him had not as much victory of light as the grain of a mustard seed, and yet said to them, "You are the light of the world. You are the salt, the preservation of the earth." Of a similar character is the mother star breathing. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich Ashan to enter into the royal domain in the house of the sun, which has quickened the exegetical genius of commentators to mighty efforts in expounding the Shultres, scriptures. Judging by the vast number of characters in this land who have asked my opinion as an Aramaean concerning its correctness, and the fact that I have myself seen it in print, and the following interpretation of this passage must have been much in vogue. The walled cities and feudal castles of Palestine, the explanation runs, have large gates, okay? Because their great size, such gates are opened only on special occasions to admit chariots and caravans. Therefore, in order to give pedestrian thoroughfares, a smaller opening about the size of an ordinary door is made in the center of the gate, the great gate, near to the ground. Now, this smaller door through which a camel cannot pass is the eye of the needle mentioned in the Star Message of Enlightenment Gospel. I once heard a Sunday school superintendent explain this passage to his scholars, saying that a camel, gamel, could pass through the eye of a needle, meaning the door, if he was not loaded. Therefore, and by analogy, if we cast off our load of this world outside, we can easily enter into the royal domain in the house of the sun, the kingdom of heaven, where the gamel and the gate left out. This statement would be an excellent fatherly admonition. There is perhaps no gate in the celestial city large enough to admit a man with a load of blindness strapped to his back and to his soul. However, the chief trouble with these explanations of the eye of the needle passage is that they are wholly untrue. This saying is current in the East, and in all probability, it was a common saying there long before the advent of the Moeshiach, but I never knew that a small door in a city or a castle gate to be called the needle-eyes door. Nor, I think where that came from is that, you know how some of those doors, and not the big door they're talking about on a gate, but going into certain courtyards, the door is shaped like a round needle, sort of like a keyhole, right? And that may be where that came from. So that nor indeed the large gate is called the needle. The name of that door in common speech of the land is the plum, and I am certain the scriptural passage makes no reference to it whatever. Okay, and then nothing can show more clearly the genuine Oriental character of this New Testament passage and that of the seed planter who uttered it, teacher, than the intense positiveness of its thought and the unrestrained flight of its imagery. I can just hear the Mother Star say, Yeshua's purpose was to state that it was extremely difficult for them that trust in riches to enter into the royal domain of the house of the sun, the kingdom of heaven. To this end, he chose the biggest animal and the smallest opening known to his people, and compared the impossibility of a camel, passing through the eye of a needle with that of a man weighed down with earthly things, becoming one with Yahweh. I'm just jumping forward ahead. I'm gonna jump forward because there was another profound read. If I can find it real quick, let me see here. Of the beautiful parables I know, a certain man fell at the housetop and was badly injured. Oh yeah. Here's an interesting one. And by the way, the word I learned a deeper meaning of the word manna here today right in this section of the Syriac Christ, the Syrian Christ. It was done in the 1930s, and so it was a lot of before a lot of the propaganda slipped in, and this was a great study. Here, he wrote a bunch of articles and then published them in a book. So manna in the Aramaic is M-A-A-N-A. Then I realized, of course, it was properly M-A-A-N-N-A, manna, and so literally it means ma'ana. Ma'ana means the mother's harvest. But the literal meaning that he was given for it in the article here was that mana meant meaning, or probably more correctly interpretation, and also ethics. So interpretation and ethics. Let me just write that, interpretation. Okay, learn as we go, learn as we read it on the broadcast here. That's why going over this stuff is so powerful, because it constantly unfolds. And but what's interesting, therefore, is the idea that the manna, which they actually ate for 40 years. I had no idea it was that long until a few months ago when I forgot, but I read it again, and it's like, whoa, 40 years. They went out and they gathered food. They survived in the wilderness, in the no man's land, in the wasteland for 40 years eating manna. But the manna is really symbolic of the interpretation or meaning of the higher ethic of life. It is the mother's harvest. In other words, it's of the mind. It's not of the stomach. It is of the mind. Let me write that down. Of the mind. Mind. Not of the stomach. And so I'm going to just give you one more example now in the next chapter here, dealing with Oriental manner of speech. And I thought it was rather interesting. So in picturing what he closes that last paragraph with oral traditions in the scriptures, Mohammedan literature, and other rich sources are drawn upon both for instruction, wisdom, and for entertainment. In picturing the condition of one who has been demoralized beyond redemption The entertaining speaker proceeds in this fashion, quote, "Once upon a time, a certain man fell from the housetop and was badly injured. His neighbors came and carried him into the house and placed him in bed. Then one of his friends approached near to the injured man and said to him, quote, 'Assad, my beloved friend, how is your condition?' Kiev Kalak. The much pained Ashan opened his mouth and breathed. 'My 2 arms are broken. My back and one of my legs are broken. One of my eyes is put out. I am badly wounded in the breast and feel that my liver is severed. But I trust that Yahweh will restore me.' Whereupon his friend answered, 'Assad, I am distressed. But if this is your condition, it will be much easier for Yahweh to make a new man to take your place than to restore you.'" Unquote. And let's see if there's one more here. And then one of the most beautiful parables I know, and which I often heard my father relate, bears in the subject of partiality as follows. Once upon a time, there were 2 men, one named Ibrahim and the other Yusuf. Each man had a camel. And it came to pass, well, okay, I'll do it. Okay. And it came to pass that when Yusuf fell sick, he asked of his neighbor Ibrahim, who was about to journey to Aleppo, to take his camel with him as well, and with a load of merchandise. Yusuf begged Ibrahim to treat the camel exactly the same manner that he did his own, and promised him that if Allah keep him alive until he came back, he would repay him both the good deed and for the cost of the camel's keep. Ibrahim accepted the trust and took his journey to Aleppo with the 2 camels. Upon his return, Yusuf saw that his own camel did not look so well as Ibrahim's. And so he spoke to his friend Ibrahim, "By the life of Elah, what has happened to my camel? He is not as good as your camel. Oh, Ibrahim, did you care for my camel as you did care for your camel?" Then Ibrahim answered and said, "By the life of Yahweh, O Yusuf, I fed and I watered and I groomed your camel as I did my camel. Yahweh witnesses between us, Yusuf, this is the truth. But I will say to you, you my eyes, you who are my heart, that when night came and I lay me down on my cloak to sleep between the 2 camels, I placed my head nearer to my camel than to yours." And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So I can't tell you if that could be a true story or not. But there's something that is there in the I guess in the what they call metaphysics, right? When we talk about the plant, when you say to the plant, "I hate you," and then you have another plant, you keep saying, "I love you," and then one plant seems to grow and the other one dies on the vine, right? They've done that, and actually seems to have some there is a metaphysical reaction, So rather interesting. So I'm really enjoying reading the Syrian Christ, because we have to see how they thought. We have to see how they spoke, and we have to realize that when we're trying to read something literally from the East, and it's already bad enough that it was already manipulated by mean men, for lack of a better word, and priesthoods, that we have so much to try to get back to that original thought. Okay, so that's what we got to do. We have to get back to the original thought. It's the only way home. We, as an enlightened being, which is what we're supposed to be, then we're supposed to transcend the Eshavors, transcend it. In other words, to finally get the picture on all the things that we're reading, because it is, in the greatest instance, it is revealed. Okay, the truth is revealed. The truth is not being handed to you on a silver platter with wrapped in tinsel gold. Okay, you're receiving something that's wrapped in mud. Did you see that opening thumbnail? Okay, show that picture of being wrapped in mud, Shelley, and then they'll get the idea of what we're dealing with in the problem of this transliteration. Okay, we are actually what has affected our whole tradition is, in fact, the Talmud. There you go. Thank you very much. And so how do you want to read with those kind of glasses on? Okay, when you got mud in your eye, when you graduated from college or high school with a Masonic mortarboard on your head that's based on the Babylonian Talmud. What's a mortarboard? Mortarboard is where they put the mud when they're laying the brick. You know, they use the mortarboard, take a little bit of that knife and grab some more mud, and they sling it in your eye, and you're graduated. You know, and grudge is the Latin grudge. It's all the garbage that they put in the cannon when they wanted to do a surprise attack on a ship, so it wouldn't go anywhere. So there you go. There's your Talmud. I don't think I want to watch that anymore. Shelley, you can remove it now. Good while it lasted. Thank you very much. So, but that leads us right into the next presentation here. And let me just get another sip of my throat tonic. And thank you. Love the clean, fresh-looking wave, the cleansing smell of the ocean. Nothing like it, right? Okay, and so I hope everybody's doing okay out there, and it's coming through loud and clear. Now we're going to I'm into the Companion Bible by Bullinger. Okay, he wrote a commentary on every single word, if not at least every sentence or verse in the scriptures. And an amazing work. I think, sometimes I think Bullinger could have been an incarnation of Yeshua, because I don't know how anybody could do the work that he did in commentary. Okay, so we're the beneficiaries of that, and we need to take advantage of it. So on his appendices, which are like near 200 appendices to this Companion Bible. There's one I've been wanting to read for actually several weeks now, and I'm going to do it today because it fits with everything that we're dealing with now. And it is on the Mesorah. And there we can see the word Mesorites. Okay, so the Mesorah, and therefore we can see the word Meitzar, and therefore we can also see the word matzah. Okay, so what this means is that the Mesorah and we hear about the Masoretic text. So this is what it's alluding to by the Mesorites out of Switzerland, but the word itself goes back to the original word for Egypt. Okay, get the picture, and then we have Matzor, the Mazoreh. The Mazzaroth. The Mazzaroth then is the 12 constellations of all the stars. It is the galaxy. It is the zodiac. And so there, and then when we connect it with the bread, the Matzorah, it means the creation. Okay, it means the creation. And so the question is, when we're talking about the Masorah by the Masorites that hate our guts, what kind of a creation do you think it might be? When they hate your guts, do you think they're going to give you the real truth? Especially when they're surplanters and they're not even original Israel. So because the Metzorites are Jews, of course, they're banking Jews. Where do you think they were? In Switzerland, right? The elite establishment controlling the world as they decide where they're going to wage wars from Geneva, which is Jewish for hatred. Okay, they decide how they wage war on mankind in the city of Geneva, Switzerland, and the word Geneva means in Jewish parlance, Yiddish, hatred. So they hate your guts. They're going to decide how they're going to wage war in Geneva. Okay, and so now I'm going to read Bullinger here. Okay, so on the Mesorah, but I want to connect the bread again, the matzah with the Mazorah. It is so when we're breaking the bread, we're going back to the primordial source. That's what's happening. You're breaking the unleavened bread, no sourdough. That's what unleavened means, and it's taking you back to the beginning of creation, to the light, going back to the light, okay? And so all of the oldest and the best manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, and it never was in Hebrew originally, okay? It was Aramaic, and Hebrew came after they came back from Babylon with the Babylonian Talmud. That's when it went into Hebrew script, the square root script, okay? Let me try it again. All of the oldest and best manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible contain on every page beside the text, which is arranged in 2 or more columns, a varying number of lines of similar writing distributed between the upper and the lower margins. This smaller writing is called the Mazorah, Magua, or the Great Mazorah, the Great Masorah. While, and by the way, it's also where we get the word misery from, okay? Think about it. While that in the side margins and between the columns is called the Masorah Parva, or small Masorah. The illustration given on page 32 is a reduced facsimile of a Hebrew manuscript, 16.5 inches times 12 2/3, written in a German hand about the year AD 1120. The small writing in the margins in this particular manuscript is seen to occupy 7 lines in the lower margin and 4 lines in the upper, while in the outer margins and between the 3 columns is the Masorah Parva. Now here's my note, okay? And I'm reading Bullinger, but I have it highlighted, is what I mean. The word Masorah is from the root Mazar. There's Mazar, the mother star. Mazar, to deliver something into the hand of another. So the star, the light, is passing the baby, passing the ball. Okay. So I put up there Mazoroth. There's the Mazoroth again. To deliver something into the hand of another, so as to commit it to his trust. So that's what they did with the Masoretic text, right? They passed it on to us, okay, in this exact aspect. Hence, the name is given to the small writing referred to because it contains information necessary to those whose trust the sacred text was committed. Those into whose trust, well, I never trusted them with it. I never did. Into the sacred text was committed, so that they might transcribe it, might do it correctly, but I doubt it, and hand it down correctly. The text itself had been fixed before the Masoretes were put in charge of it. The text itself had been fixed. How do you fix it? How do you fix it? Oh, you mean by changing it from the original? That's quite a fix. This had been the work of the Shopharim, from shofar to count or to number, from shafar, like shepherd, right? Because the shepherd has to count his sheep. Their work under Ezra and Nehemiah was to set the text in order after the return from Babylon, and we read of it in Nehemiah 8:8. See also Ezra 7:6-11. The men of the great synagogue means to put out the eye of the sun. Sin of Gog is Gogol, like Google, go looking. Synagogue, to put out the eye of the sun, because sin is sun. Compiled the work, okay? The men of the great synagogue completed the work. Well, if they're of the great synagogue and it means to put out the eye of the sun, a code, do you think they're going to give it to you? Just like Sephar, what they call the Bible. In the Hebrew, Sephar means code. This work lasted about 110 years. From Nehemiah to Shimon the first, 410 through 300 BC. The Shopharim, I'm still looking for something here. I don't know if I passed it, but oh, here. Okay, I'm coming up to it. All right, I'm coming up to it. I haven't read this in several weeks now. Okay, so the Shopharim was the authorized revisers of the sacred text. The Shopherim are scribes. And their work being completed, the Masoretes were the authorized custodians of it. Okay, so those guys who are calling themselves Egypt, I thought we were supposed to come out of Egypt, Metzar, or now it's in the trust of the Masoretes. You seeing like some type of a theme? Okay, isn't it a joke? A joke that's played on us, and they're the jokesters. They're also the ones that give us the Jewish comedy. Okay, so their work was to preserve it according to their version, of course. And the Masorah is called, get this, the Masorah is called offense. Well, it sounds like offense, because that's what offense meant. You're getting up on the fence, pointing down at somebody else in their yard. You're on the fence. You're the offense, and they're the offense to the scriptures. Offense to the scripture. Well, the question is, like a wall, is the wall to keep you in, or is it to keep something out? See, why would they call it a fence? I mean, in other words, what's another word for fence? A barrier. It's a barrier to the scriptures. The Metzorah is called a fence, which means obviously a barrier to the scriptures. Why? Continuing, because it locked all the words and letters in their places. You see, that never happened before. Never, because they never had the vowels added to the consonantal words. And here the word consonant, they even corrupted that because there's no con. It's supposed to be sonants. Sonants means sound, like sonar. They were not consonants, but sonants. And you add the vowels to the sonants, to the sounds. You see the trick that they played on us. It is a con. Okay, because it locked all the words and letters in their places. They never taught us that you could change the vowels and get the other meaning of the words, right? They said, this is what it means, like it or lump it, slave. Okay, that's what they're doing. It does not contain notes or comments such work. Okay, but facts and phenomena. It records. So in other words, what is okay? So the notes on the side. So we're in reference to their documents, which have the side notes that where they preserve it. In other words, when they did the switch out, they put the original in the margin. You see, and so this is how the switch out occurred. And as I had learned through a friend that who had her relative had a rabbinical Bible, and every now and then in the wide margin it would have a conference table, and I realized that was where the switch outs had occurred, so they took out the notes and then they just put a conference table there. You see, so that the rabbi would know, okay, this is where, and they go to their secret book, or they go to their Baba Wan Gandhi Randi Hashish and have a little hashish, and then find out, what the original said. So maybe they kept it oral at one point, and didn't want it written down, obviously. So it does not contain notes and comments as such, but facts and phenomena. It records the number of times the several letters occur in various books of the Bible, the number of words and the middle word, the number of verses and the middle verse. See, so they're writing it as a code. This way they can back engineer it. The number of expressions and combinations of words and so on. All this not from this is Bullinger, of course. He's saying all of it is not from a perverted ingenuity. I say it is from a perverted ingenuity. What are you doing messing with my scriptures? Okay? But for the set purpose of safeguarding the sacred text, well, if you switched it out in the middle, if you locked it in on vowels, you're not safeguarding anything. You're tricking whoever is going to receive the context, which is a con. And so that's correct. It should be text, but it's a context. And preventing the loss of misplacement of single letter or word. Not true. The Mesorah is not contained in the margins of any one manuscript. No manuscript contains the whole or even the same part. Wow. Well, that's easy to follow, because you can't follow that then. No standardization, but a compilation and a mix mash of all their gobbledygook. That Talmud, that picture, Yeah, we better put that picture of that Talmud back up, I think, Shell, because it's mud in your eye. It's spread over many manuscripts, and Dr. C.D. Ginsburg has been the first and only scholar who has set himself to collect and collate the whole, copying it from every available manuscript. You see? So he had to go to all of these different manuscripts to get all the pieces. I don't have one of these manuscripts, okay? How could I ever do that? In the libraries of many countries. He has published it in 3 large folio volumes, and only a small number of copies have been printed. Well, go figure. These are available, obtainable only by the original subscribers. Well, thank you very much. When the Hebrew text was printed, only the large type in the columns was regarded. Okay, so the notes telling us about the switch outs were no longer there. And the small type of the Masorah was left unheeded in the manuscripts from which the text was taken. When the translators came to the printed Hebrew text, they were necessarily destitute of the information contained in the Masorah. Thank you very much. So that the revisers as well as the translators of the authorized version carried out their work without any idea of the treasures contained in the Masorah, what they stole out of the main scriptures, and therefore without giving a hint of it to their readers. Sounds like a con to me. This is the first time that an edition of the authorized version has been given containing any of these treasures of the Masorah that affect so seriously the comprehension of the text. And Bullinger's the one who's doing it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, he did his best to show the places where the information was available to let us know where it occurred. A vast number of the Masoretic notes concern only the orthography and matters that pertain to the concordance, but many of those which affect the sense or throw any additional light on the sacred text are noted in the margins of the companion Bible, this companion Bible. Some of the important lists of words which are contained in the Masorah are also given, vis-a-vis those that have the extraordinary points. Yeah, there are extraordinary points when they're vowels. See Appendix 31. The 18 emendations of the Shofrim. See Appendix 33. And the 134 passages where they subtitled Adonai for Yahweh. See Appendix 32. And the various readings called Severin, but other Severin, see Appendix 34. And these are in separate appendices. But other words of any importance are preserved in our marginal notes. Readers of the Companion Bible are put in possession of information denied to former generations of translators. And I want to thank once again my wonderful sponsor for getting me this Companion Bible, because what a revelation it has been. Commentators, critics, and general students all need this. For further information on the Masorah, see Dr. Ginsburg's Introduction to the Hebrew Bible. I've got it. I have not been able to dive into it yet. Another major work, of which only a limited edition was printed. Also a small pamphlet on the Masorah published by the King's Printers. Okay, so there you go on the Masorah. I've been wanting to share that with you for weeks now. Finally got it out. Let me take a deep breath here. Okay, everything's okay. We know what they did to us, ladies and gentlemen, but the good news is that there's no trick that the serpents played that can't be back in its proper order, because there's never anything lost. You put on the shirt and pants. Shirt, pants equals the serpent. Thank you so much. What great work. Look at that. Makes you that's called putting on the serpent, you see? Putting on the serpent every day we do. We love that serpent. We take care of it. We feed that serpent. We groom it. We Wash it. Nice serpent. And we know we're not taking the serpent with us. And yet, when we also figured or have find out that it's real hard to get rid of the serpent when you're sick of it, And so this is part of the great mystery and what we talk about here. So great work, engineer. And so, okay, let's put this book up, and we're gonna move on now to where are we at here? Okay, yeah. So I have a great discovery in the book by Edmund Bodo Sike, who gave us the Gospel of the Essenes and the Gospel of Peace. These are true words of the followers of Yeshua and additional stories of Yeshua. And he discovered these writings in the libraries in Austria. And so he produced this book, and I've been working my way through it, called the Essene Book of Asia. And as you know, that I've been talking about Asia for a couple of years now, easily, and in a big way this last year. And once I got going on my production in my YouTube channel, the Forbidden History series, starting June 21st, and then the premiere edition of that series I did for several months, is still there. Go check it out. And because I was repetitively saying Esha Re'ul for Israel, and then all of a sudden it would, the mantra was making me open up to the fact that it was opening my mind to the fact that there was and hey there, Jet, good to have you, and that it was opening me up to the other words that had Asia in it. And then all of a sudden at one point I discovered that this word Asia was part of the lineage that came through Sarah and Zavramhaim, Abraham, and that the word Asia was in Esha Reha, or Esha Re, before she became Esha Reha. And so anyway, we've got the Art of Asia. Okay, it's just 3 little pages here, and what a find. I need to take a 2-3 minute break. So Shelley, if you can just go ahead and put on some music, and we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're tuned in. Thank you for joining us here on the Forbidden History Live. Okay, and we've got miles to go yet. We're going to do the Babylonian Talmud right after this as well. Okay, so you have heard nothing yet. Okay, stand by for the broadcast. I'm Dezert-Owl. Glad you're tuned in. Hope you're telling your friends. And we go where no one else dares to go for some reason. Maybe it's because they don't even know how to get there. see Ninja wants to call in. Ninja, come on, call in. That'll give me a little more reduction on my throat, okay? And yeah, sorry about that. I was talking over myself one more time. I was enjoying the music, and I can't listen to that music when I'm talking, and we're gonna have to work that one out somehow. But yeah, if Ninja, you want to call in, that would be fine. Okay, so in the meantime, I'll just have to start on this read of the Art of Asia. It's just amazing. I'm a student of religion, and one of the interesting things is much of what came out of Persia, known as Mithraism, has been hiding away somewhere, and I've not been privy to the this cultural story deep enough. I have the basic gist of it, and who these people were, but I do not have the I've got some more legwork I got to do here, because this culture is hiding some very, very important information that is relevant to our own background. Okay, why they let Persia let Israel go back, pseudo-Israel, Judah, go back and build a temple, and what this culture was about. They unlike the Roman Empire, treated all the cultures with respect. They were free to follow their own tradition. And Zarathustra was the one responsible for enlightening the kings of Persia to make them better people. It's an amazing story. I sometimes question if Yeshua was not incarnate in Zarathustra to create a wave of enlightenment, while the people of Israel rejected wholesale Yahweh and followed paganism, followed Adonai, the blood drinking god of actually India, and so there's a lot of mysteries, and this is why we have to keep turning stones over, ladies and gentlemen, because we never know what we're going to learn by going to these other cultures. Okay, why was it 3 Persian wise men, sages, rode on camels 1,000 miles to honor the one who made the universe? How come it was the Persians who were waiting for him, and yet nobody out of Jerusalem came to pay him homage other than to kill him? Right? So realize that there's a lot going on within our history. It's forbidden history. It's what they didn't want you to know, and I'm still trying to unravel it myself. And I've got more books to acquire, because it's been fragmented in so many ways throughout time. And so we have standing by Ninja Cat 111. Let me take a sip here, Ninja. Hang on. Everybody can hear my serpent sipping on that brew, and I've heard tell. So forgive me, but I'll have to learn how to mute this thing out when I do that. So, but Ninja, you're on the Forbidden History Live, and how are things down under?
Freezing, doesn't tell you. Absolutely freezing. The official temperature -1 tonight, but it feels more like -5.
I see.
It's freezing.
Yeah, and it's very cold for May here. It was not freezing, but it was in the 40s this morning. 30s is freezing, and so just colder than normal. And so I think they are the cooling operation is in full effect, and the irony is, we know that when they stop, if they stop, it's going to get really hot for all of us. So it's a mixed bag of mixed feelings, and what can we say?
Exactly. Like this last week, as it's been getting colder, I've been thinking, gee, I hope the world doesn't end while it's this cold. That means extra stuff for my bug out bag. But anyway, but yeah, it's good. Yeah, one extreme or the other. I was thinking the same thing during the heat wave. Hope the world doesn't end when it's this hot. Yeah. So they're really. It's worse than last year. So much worse than last year. I've got a fake cold at the moment. It came on about 5 hours ago. It's not a real one. I could taste the chemicals in the air today, and they had that cold wind. And the sun was shining. Way too hot. Yeah, so that's what it's like down here at the moment. But yeah, I wanted to call about. It's not really a question, or it kind of is. When you were talking about the small door, the little tiny door, the pinhole that the camel couldn't fit through. Love wrote in the chat a fence, as in a fence, and then off fence, as in a fence, and that just set me off with the wows. I've written down some notes. I'll see if I can translate them.
Okay.
You mentioned sonic fence. I've been seeing stuff about China in Darwin, some sort of agreement to start implementing frequency fences, like if you walk through one, that's how they can track you. I don't know if what I'm about to say is true, but I've got a feeling that Sydney has been the testing ground for this.
Right. I think what you're referring to then would be 5G. Is that right?
Yeah, we don't officially have 5G. We have
Right.
fibre optics.
Okay, but my point is, hold on, is that when I saw the nature of what 5G was becoming, that it created a fence in triangulation.
Yes,
triangulation.
Wow, yeah.
You see?
That's why there's so many poles.
And immediately it would pick you up on your cell phone. It would say, okay, cell phone 608-566-7295 just passed through this gate into the next zone, into the next triangle.
Yes. Yes, that's what they're publicly announcing in Darwin, and I think they've been practicing in Sydney because it's always in the mainstream. Like they've been conditioning us. It's always directed at Sydney. Talking about where do I start?
Yeah, and by the way, give me an audio check. Give me an audio check on Ninja to let me know that it's coming through okay, ladies and gentlemen. Please continue, Ninja.
Okay. They're always putting things up about human behaviour, and they're always doing it from Sydney. They're talking about human behaviour, how people need monitoring or some sort of beep alarm technology for when they cross roads, at traffic lights with their headphones on and they're in their iPhones and they're not paying attention to traffic, and people walking off the edge of railway station platforms because they're not paying attention, and they've been using all that sort of thing, putting it all over the TV, to slowly get us used to them putting more monitoring and tracking technology in the streets. And then they came up with this frequency fence agreement in Darwin between China and Australia, and I think I can just see the lead up to it. So I think Sydney's like a practice. But what I was wowing about with the offence was partly related to that, but also they can track our behaviour, and if we don't behave right, we get we all have a number, a secret number apparently, and the higher the number, the better service you get in shops, on the phone when you're sitting on hold. The higher the number you are, you get answered straight away on the phone. If your behaviour is not according to what they
communism, socialism,
is not what they want, your number is lower.
If you're not a Mason or if you're not a good brown noser, you're at the end of the line. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always getting left on hold for a minimum of 45 minutes with any government organisation that I call. And I always seem to have bad service in shops, and have to wait a long time in queues for ridiculous behaviour, like I'll be standing for 20 minutes in a queue with one person in front of me, behaving ridiculously slow. I experienced it down at the local shop a few weeks ago, actually. I was standing there, and even the staff member kept looking at me and sniggering, like it was all planned. Anyway.
Those are it's a Masonic thing. We have to note that the controlling aspect of this is Freemasonry, and we need not forget that. Mm-hmm.
So, wow. And they've also been telling us, like, with in the movies and things, with the force fields and things like that, like in all the sci-fis. And, So, that was all. It wasn't really a question. It was just wailing.
Okay. Yeah, well, just make sure you don't call air traffic control anymore, because no point in doing that again. So.
Thanks for the reminder. I won't be doing that again.
Yeah. So we just have to learn how to take the abuse. That's all we can do. Ninja, there's nothing we can do, but we give thanks for all things, and we recognize that this world is temporary. The joke's on them. They're going back to dirt. We have the ability to transcend into the infinite light. So that's the good news. So keep that in your focal point. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Just with I don't know, it's all parallel seems to be the word of the day for me. The closer I get to the light, the more I see, of the darkness, as I go along.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that's a good thing, and I have to just keep focusing on not getting caught up in it, just seeing it for what it is, and moving on.
Yeah. Well, we all will be moving on one way or another. It's a given, and so we remember the scripture says to give thanks for persecution, give thanks, or in Barucheth, endowed and enlightened and separated are you when people abuse you, when they do all manner of things against you. So he says, rejoice, that is, stand up in the flowing light, and be, because great is your reward. Okay, great is your reward. And
Thank you.
And nice.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, nice banner. Shelley put up a nice banner on the Forbidden History Chronicles. Yeah, very nice done.
I love the picture of the book. My sister came today, and I almost I was very anxious I could to stay in prayer all day. And when she arrived, I felt like I was going to have a panic attack. So I just remembered to breathe, because all I wanted to do was to leave her with Mum, and come up my end of the house and just sit and read or something until she left. And I didn't do that. I thought, no, that's running away. Because I'm just sick of doing fake nice with her, because it's only it's all a show. Anyway, I decided not to. I decided to make her a hot chocolate, because it's a freezing cold day, and as like she knocked on the door when I was making Mum and I a hot drink, so I made her a hot chocolate and gave it to her, and that surprised her. And her reaction was, "Oh, thanks, but I probably won't drink it." And she ended up drinking it and saying, "Thank you, that was one of the nicest hot chocolates I've ever had." Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. Positive when, she's not been very nice. So.
And I just, I did the complete opposite to what I really wanted to do.
Sure.
Yeah, and she didn't stay for long. But yeah, there's gonna be a few things that I'm gonna have to deal with down the track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I can't really bring up live.
Sure,
so.
sure. Well, anyway, you're doing. It's it says do good to those who don't treat you well. So you're following the spiritual pattern. That's what you have to do, and and you're heaping coals of fire on her head, and and it'll be harder for her to act negatively, when you're acting so positively. So to be, antithetical to your situation there. So, okay. So I want to get back on the reading. Was there anything else?
No, that was all. Thank you, Desert, for letting me call in as per usual.
Okay. Well, thank you for being a caller, and hopefully somebody else will be inspired to call in as well. Of course, if you call in on Skype, we can get a better connection. This is an iffy connection, and
I
that's.
just haven't had time.
No. What I'm talking about to anybody else. I'm talking about anybody else, and I gave out the wrong Skype earlier because we want you to call in on Forbidden History Live. 3 words: Forbidden History Live. Do a search. You'll find it says California. Okay, and hook up. Become a what do you call it? A accepted, or what do you join? Forbidden History Live on Skype, and then we can take your call. Okay. So Ninja, very good. Good to hear from you. And I know it's late over there, so have a nice sleep. Okay. And then I guess you'll stay with us for the rest of the program unless you pass out. All right.
Yeah, I managed to have a lay down beforehand, and I set my alarm. So
okay.
I was late into the chat.
All right. Okay, well, Ninja, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Forbidden History Chronicles.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
For saying that. Yeah, okay. I will let you get on with the program, and it's been amazing so far. Thank you. Thank you, Yochelleg, your engineer. And love you guys in the chat, all of you, and creating life you always did it.
All right, thank you.
My family.
We'll see you there. Peace and love.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right. Okay, and that was Ninja. And she's has a real challenge with not being able to stop her caregiving and to her mother 24/7. It's amazing what they got going down there. Keep people so they can't slow down, they can't take time to get a breather, and that's a great experiment. That's what they're doing to all of us. Truck drivers got it the worst, I got to tell you. I was one of them. There's that serpent again. Okay. So, and thank you for the suggestion. Yeah, we do need support, no question about that. And have a long way to go and short time to get there, ladies and gentlemen. Please consider your support. And so the Art of Asia, we're in the book by Edmond Bordeaux-Sacquet, and it's called the Essene Book of Asia. So Asia is an original term that belonged to the Aryan race. It means the royal eye, and that's what we're supposed to be. So I'll read this little excerpt here. The Ancient Persian Legend and the Art of Asia. Through a beautiful Persian legend, the ancient art of Asia is linked with what we know as chess for today. Referred to throughout history, the game of kings and the king of games. But while today's chess is only a game, the ancient art of Asia is not a game. It is profoundly complex and intricately woven microcosm within the macrocosm of life, a complete universe within itself. The word chess derives from the Persian Shah, which correctly is Asia, which means king, which originally was Asia, the cosmic order. Okay? The cosmic order. So the legend survives that King Vishtaspa of Persia became extremely bored with life, for he had accomplished everything he wished. He was satiated with triumphs in war, tired of hunting, surfeited with the intrigues and pleasures of his court. The king suffered from ennui, and finally offered an unlimited reward to the Ashan who could give him some interest in life. No one was successful until Zarathustra appeared with the original undistorted form of today's chess, called the Art of Asia. He taught the king the rules and how to enact it. He taught and through it demonstrated to the Malik, to the king, all the laws of the universe and life. He interpreted them as he alone could do, as no present-day chess player would think to do, and the king was extremely satisfied and his interest in life was renewed. He thereupon told Zarathustra to ask for whatever he might want and said it would be given him. And Zarathustra wished to give the Malik a lesson which would teach him not to be so megalomaniac as to think he could give anyone something he wanted. So Zarathustra told the king he wanted only a very simple and modest thing: 1 grain of wheat on the first square of the chessboard, and 2 on the second square, and the square of 2 on the third square. And what that meant was, because I can see that Zagay didn't write it correctly, but what he meant was to double it, each square on the 64 squares. Now, if any of you have heard about the penny doubled every day, the question was, what would you rather have? A penny doubled every day for 30 days, or would you rather have $10,000 a day for 30 days? And of course, the answer is I'd rather have a penny doubled every day for 30 days, because it becomes an astronomical amount in the last few days. And so that's what's going on here. And so the 2 square, the square of the 2, and then the third square, it's doubled again. The square of that on the fourth is doubled, and so on, until all 64 squares were filled with the square of the amount of the previous square. And so the king laughed and said he would send Zarathustra the wheat in a few days, thinking that what a fool he was to ask only for a few grains of wheat when he could have had gold and fine treasure. He told his men to calculate the amount of wheat and send it to Zarathustra. And he was surprised when after several weeks they came to him and told him the quantity of wheat which he should deliver to Zarathustra was more than that in the entire kingdom. Even if he gathered together all the wheat in the empire, it would not be 1,000th of the amount he had promised to Zarathustra. And the king was very shocked to learn this and to know that he could not fulfill his promise. He sent for Zarathustra and told him how ashamed he was. Zarathustra answered that he did not want the wheat. He only wanted to teach the king a lesson, and he thereupon retired to his forest. This is the ancient legend about the origin of chess and the art of Asia, which traces chess back to ancient Persia. Unfortunately, chess today is only a pastime, a faint echo of the original art of Asia, although it particularly observes the ancient Sumerian symbology. Though archaeological proofs of the origin of chess may be lacking, there is no doubt that chess had its beginning in the East many thousands of years ago, and yes, probably was invented in the Sind or Western India, but it goes back to India. It is they've invented all the games basically, in the big game of the big chessboard. They certainly invented. That's world domination from the ancient Aryan caste. Okay, the original chess was the art of Asia, and its function was to symbolize and exemplify the natural and cosmic laws represented by Ahuras. That's cosmic forces, and the Fraveshis, natural forces. The cosmic forces, natural forces on Earth, and their shadows. In the art of Asia is found a microcosm. Each enactment represents in miniature the external cosmic battle between the light and darkness, and the perfect and the corrupt. The art of Asia represents a vital bridge of comprehension between the universal, all-encompassing world conception of Zarathustra and his practical daily application of the Asiatic system of self-analysis. To enact the art of Asia is to bring into focus the vast universal conception of Zarathustra and to apply its rules to daily life. The more one takes part in the art of Asia, the more one comprehends the unique role of Aishan, the center figure on the chessboard, most important of the Fraveshis, partner of the creator and the one who must carry on the work of creation on earth. As the rules of Asia are learned, it is fascinating to observe how the movements of the various figures assume a far more vast and universal meaning as we replace the modern chess names with the ancient original ones. For example, power and peace at each end of the first rank move vertically and horizontally, indicating sweeping motions of infinite strength. They are second in importance only to the preserver in assuming the triumph of light over darkness. Love and work, like the knight in chess, move in ingenious patterns and are only figures which may jump over any other figure. Thus, the obstacles which may exist for other forces do not exist for them. Recalling to mind the worlds of the Bible, love is stronger than death, and the ancient Roman proverb, work overcomes all evil. The Creator is able to move only one square at a time in any direction, while the Preserver has the versatility and may move any distance in any direction. That would have been the Queen. This symbolizes that while the creation of the universe may have taken place in a moment of time, the rest of eternity is given to the Preserver to make eternal that which has been created. Well, it was only instituted then that the Queen is the one that is preserving and moving forward in time. What the king's pawn is to the modern chess in the art of Asia is to man. The words of Protagoras come to mind. Man is the measure of all things. Man occupies the most glorious place on the board, directly in front of the Creator, symbolizing his eternal unity with the law of laws, and his unique role of representative of the Creator on earth. Okay, so rather interesting stuff here. You know, I mean, I've been reading all my life, and where's this been? So uh, um, it's I'm only halfway through, not even halfway through the book right now, and there's a lot of stuff. So there's a whole nother game that uh, is that same chessboard, 64 squares, with this other game, and I'd never seen the game made available. So interesting stuff. Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen, and now on with the. Well, I have before I do the Talmud, I got one more little slice here I wanted to share with you today. I was reading about the letter A out of the Aryan origin of the alphabet, or was that yeah? And just a little tidbit here. Okay, so A here. I'll do the paragraph first for my note. The normal two-edged A is found in the Cadmean Phoenician and generally throughout most of the alphabets. In the Gothic runes, where this letter is significantly called Asha, it says Essa, but it's missing the H, so it's Asha. So the A is called Asha, or also Lord, the Lord, which of course would then mean sunrise, because the A represents the light of the sun, and so Lord, of course, being English for my sunrise, as they called them in the past. So Asha, the sunrise, or Ace, meaning the highest apex or point, or the one. Okay, so that's interesting, because I've been tuned into this. This is what Yeshua has opened up for me, and so literally the alphabet would not be called the alphabet, but like the letter A is called Asha, then it would be the Ashava, because the B, there's no B, it's a V. It's not Bet, it's Vat. The E is a corruption, it's the A. So it's the Ashava. The Ashava, and it means the royal eye of the serpent. And of course, that's what the alphabet is. It's the royal eye of the serpent. Okay? So the serpent is it's the DNA of creation. I call words the DNA of life. That was a quote I came up with about 15 years ago, that words are the DNA of life, and the alphabet is the serpent then in that sense. And I may have one more. I just want to refer to a little read I was doing today in the Sumerian Aryan Dictionary. It's all just opening up, ladies and gentlemen. It is just. I'm going to just give you a highlight. I'm not reading this one for our listeners yet, but I'm working my way to it as I get through the book. And I'm just going to give you an excerpt out of here, because the Aryan thing is what they've hidden from us, okay? And others were trying to reveal it, but yet through the Vatican and the unseen hand, and therefore the universities, the objective is to hide the origin of the Aryan. Because we're talking about the Aryan here, it is not to take away from any other race, because we're all made by the same light. And it's just a matter of what role did the Aryan play. And of course, he played the role of enslaving mankind. So the Aryan doesn't get very high marks. Okay, everyone else, all of us, including us Aryans, who are just citizens of our own nation, to use a slave word, all fell victim to the Aryan elite priesthood, the priesthood that wants to dominate everything. Stand by. So we're just trying to unravel the mystery. Okay, I'm part Celtic also. I'm a quarter seed of Cain. Redhead spotted. I got freckles on my shoulders. You can still see. I had a little bit of red tint in my mustache when it was before it was gray. So we have all these mixes, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we're red, white, blue, black, brown, or whatever. Because we are spirit inside. The skin is just the illusion. So that's the good news, and we're all basically the same on the inside then, from the spiritual standpoint. So Sumerian Aryan Dictionary. Aryan, essentially a racial or ethnic term. The title Aryan is the angelicized, love that word, angelicized form of the Sanskrit Arya. the noble, which means the noble or exalted. Well, yeah, that's why they were called the sun gods and sky gods, you know. And a term which is employed in Indian literature, ancient and modern, solely in a racial sense, to designate the fair, ruling, and civilizing race, as opposed to the dark aboriginal subjected people, as in India, who are the Dravidic, itself was called. So in India itself, it was called. This was called the land or the region of the Aryas or the Aryans. It is also used in its proper racial sense by Huxley in the heading in designating the fair, long, or Scandinavians. Oh, okay, I missed my place here. Try it again. It is also used in its proper racial sense by Huxley in the heading in designating the fair, long-headed people. Long-headed people. I feel like they meant long hair, but I'm not sure yet. Now mainly represented in Europe by the British and Norse or Scandinavians, called the Nordics by modern anthropologists. It is similarly used in a racial or ruling sense by the Sumerians, the Akkads, Amorites, Hittites, and its earlier form of A-R, Armady, Ara, or Ari, or Har, or Hari, also meaning exalted or noble. These are all the root forms. And then look in the dictionary. And I looked up, so an example, when I looked under R in the dictionary, I'll give you an example here. It's profound, okay, because we use the word all the time in arm. You have an arm. We use the word argument or arbitrary or army or armament. All of these words, and I'm trying to, AR, I got to move forward here. Hang on. Trying to find it because I did a highlight. And so here you go, R. And then I just recently learned about R meaning plow. The R is the plow. And but we see in the prime root here, shine, light, brilliance, burn, pictured by an eye, which of course is the sun, symbolized as the sun, plus the sign for shine. So R, and then there we find the word czar. Whoa, there's the R in czar. Put a Z in front of it with a capital T in front of the Z, and you get the czar, which means to burn also, and to shine or burn. And then so R-A, A-R-A-Y, because the other word was A-R-I, but I is a corruption for the A-Y. And when you put A-R-A-Y together, you get the power of the I. Okay, so amazing. This is again out of the Sumer Aryan Dictionary. Highly recommend it for anybody. And let me just pick it up. We're almost done here. Okay, so where are we at here? Noble. Okay, so and similarly with a like meaning in ancient Meitzar, Egypt, see Hari under R in dictionary, and the Greek name Aria or Harek for Egypt, Meitzar, probably designated that land. Oh, there's the word, of course, Meitzar. He's saying for Egypt, but what he means is Meitzar. You hear the R, Meitzar. It's the prime suffix. It's the suffix. See how they changed their words? Probably designated that land as the land of Ari or the Aryans. The Medes, as Herodotus records, were formerly called Arii or Ariana or land of the Ari. There's the word irrigation. Irrigation. There you go. You see, making fertile. Was the title of Persia. Ari was the title of Persia and the source of the modern name Aran. Aran for Aryan. Okay, so the title Hari is used by the Mitanni or the early Medes on their records of about 1400 BC. Darius the Great calls himself on his tomb in Ario. There's Yochelleg, Ario, or Ario of Ario descent, and is the Her title of the ancient Goths in their great epics, the Eddas, and the source of the modern her, or master. And again, also that's in relationship to the words sun god, sky gods, the blonde hair, blue eye, white skin, representing the sky, the sun, and the stars. And then her, or master of the Teutons, the Teutonics, that's the Germanic again, and the Scandinavians and the Irish Celts, Aria, Earad, or a chief or nobleman of the R, as in aristocratic. See Aryan in dictionary. The title Arya, or Aryan appears, as I have shown, to have originally designated the early Aryans as plowmen. There you go. As I said, it represents the plow because the star is cutting. The star of the plow, the metal is cutting. And so that's why it represents the plow, because it's a star that is plowing. And it's also doing it in the metaphor from the Sumerian ara, plow, which is now disclosed as the source of the Old English ear, E-A-R, to plow. Ear means to plow, because I guess that star plow point is like earing the ground, as it says here, to ear the ground, and of arable quality, etc. So plow in dictionary. Aryans are now seen to have been the traditional inventors, get this, of the plow. The Aryans are now seen to have been the traditional inventors of the plow and of the agricultural era of the world. Isn't that profound? Everybody else simply was a gatherer-hunter, but did not invent agriculture. Okay, it came through the Aryans, and a whole lot more. Everything came out, apparently, through them. That's because they had that knowledge that they received from their father, Adam. Okay, the Avram, the star ram. He was the star ram. And continuing, and the sense of Ara also means the exalted ones, the bright ones. Appears to have been used for this title when this gifted race became the rulers of various aboriginal tribes. The Sumerian also gave the plow sign the meaning of raise up or exalt, as in the secondary meaning of plowing as the uplifting of the earth. Okay, the uplifting of the earth. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a little sample from the Sumerian dictionary. Where have they been hiding this stuff? They've been hiding it from me. That's where they've been hiding it. And so, but you got it here first. Don't you forget that. And I hope it's helping to expand your horizon. You know, the thing that we're trying to do here is to know, because if we don't know who we are, if we don't know where we are, when we are, why we are, then we're good slaves. That's all we can possibly be. Somebody please lead me around. Somebody please tell me what line to stand in. I don't want to be free. Thank you very much. Somebody please tell me what to do. I'm just, I can't handle freedom. I can't, it takes responsibility and a whole lot of effort to, plow your own field, right? Think about that, right? So they got us plowing somebody else's field. Stand by. We're now going into the Talmud coming up next. Stand by for a second. Okay, and we're back. So I want to welcome any new listeners to the broadcast, and we cover a lot of ground. Okay, we are trying to go where nobody else seems to want to go for some reason, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll give a sample out of now. This is the I had a whole series. It was about 12 or 13 books called the History of Civilization, and by Will Durant. He traveled the world. He literally typed over 100 years ago, or give or take about 100 years ago, and he went to all the world, and he went into the museums and to the libraries and to the archaeological sites, and he typed right there in his hotel room or in the museum or in the wherever. He broke out his typewriter and he typed. Okay, he didn't stop typing. He just typed and typed, and he ended up writing 13 volumes on the history of the world. I couldn't afford to carry these books around with me, so I got rid of all but the first volume, because that's I need to know about the beginning. So, but now I just got this one from the resale shop for $2. What a deal! And it's the Age of Faith. It's all about the Age of Faith. So we're I'm going to give a little excerpt of the Talmud. Let me see here. I'll have to save the other part for next time because I'm getting talked out. And this was the part that had the most highlights in it, part 2 of the section, the makers of the Talmud. Rather telling. The temple. I'll tell you what, Shelley, give me 3 minutes on. Give me a music break because I'm feeling it, and I want to make sure I can get through this. Okay, she's giving me the thumbs up here, and thank you. And so we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned into the Forbidden History Live, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Hope you're telling your friends, and don't forget we can take calls, 608-566-7295, 608-566-7295, or call Forbidden History Live on Skype, Forbidden History Live. Love to hear from you, okay? I know you're listening. We have the best listeners on earth, and I'm amazed at how few really get it, but that's okay. I got it a long time ago, and now we're taking it your way right here. You did tell your friends? Thanks for doing that. And want to welcome any new listeners out there. And don't forget, you can call anytime on the side. Also, you don't have to just call on the broadcast if you want to share something. And or if you're trying to figure something out and you just don't want to call on the broadcast, we can take your call anytime. Here to serve. And now here we are on the cliffhanger, ladies and gentlemen, the makers of the Talmud. And this is the origin of the Talmud would certainly be quite a mystery, because I have not heard only they say it was an oral tradition, but there's a whole lot more. I certainly see it as the Aryan Hindu creation of the priesthood, and that it is basically the book on world domination. In other words, there's two Zions. The true Zion, the Zion is the on the metaphorical mountain in the throne of the sun, in the light. But then there's this other Zion, which has to do with world domination, and so they want to dominate the world and all of mankind. That's what this world slavery thing is all about. And then they're psychopaths at the same time, and they convinced him to commit Harry Canary and to kill themselves, and kill our world, take us down. And they're just good bubbas following orders. Sure, yeah, you mean poison our world? Spray all the garbage we possibly can so that we all breathe it in? Aye, aye, Captain. Yes, let's do it. And they're happy. Of course, they're told, well, no, you're going underground, my son. Don't worry, you'll be underground with us, and everything will be all right. No, we're not going to have you for lunch. Don't worry about it. Don't let that thought cross your mind. We wouldn't do that. No, there's no honor among thieves, of course, ladies and gentlemen. And so the Babylonian Talmud is the handbook for world domination. And it's not just exclusive to the quote unquote Jews, but it's the code book that is being followed by, for instance, the judges on the court in the courtrooms. Okay, whether he likes it or not, whether he knows it or not, wearing that black robe as a priest, sitting on the bench, which is Latin for bank, sitting on the funny money because they're going to make money on running you into prison. And so the world domination slavery racket is instituted through the court system, and it takes you onto Wall Street. The Wall Street is where they originally sold slaves in New York City. Wall Street, on the wall. Okay, so we can follow the trail and put these pieces back together. So here, the makers of the Talmud, in the temple of the synagogue again means to put out the eye of the sun, put out the eyes. The gog is goggle, and sin for sun, same word. Remember the sonants, not consonants, but the sonants are the prime root. The SN, it has to do with the light of the sun, and then they put synagogue, the put out the eye of the sun. And so that's why I would use the word temple. We have a temple, we are the temple, and we have to throw out all the garbage, of course. And so the temple, the synagogues, we'll use it here, and the schools of Palestine, that's interesting, Philistine, and Babylonia, the scribes and the rabbis composed those enormous bodies of law and commentary known as the Palestinian and Babylonian Talmuds. Moses, they held, I'm going to use the regular terms here because it's so convoluted that I'm not going to transliterate while I read here. I'll use their terms. Moses, they held, had left to his people not only a written law, right, in the Pentateuch, the 5 books, the Mosaic law, but also, an oral law. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, they had a written law, but then they also had an oral law. Yeah, we're going to just keep it between us, right? Yeah, which had been handed down and expanded from teacher to pupil, from generation to generation. Gee, I don't remember Moses coming off the mountain with that one. It had been the main point of issue between the Pharisees. Look at this. It had been the main point of issue between the Pharisees and the Sadducees of Palestine whether this oral law was also of divine origin and binding force. Whoa. So in other words, for 1,000 years, they've been debating whether this was a good thing or not. You see the game that's being played, ladies and gentlemen, by these Babylonian Talmudists. They got this oral tradition, which is what they were trying to throw at Yeshua, and he showed them how stupid they were. You couldn't heal anybody on the Shabbat, or you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. Man-made code rules and regulations for the slaves and for the mind controlled. Okay, had nothing to do with the law of Moses. The Mosaic law had nothing. This oral tradition is purely subversive, secret code of the controlling faction of a hijacked tradition, no longer original, no longer valid. Okay, that's what's going on. And so I love it because Will Durant here is really, and I'm sure he's a Jew also, that's what's rather profound about it. He's saying it like it is here, okay? That this was a point of contention. I thought Moses came off the mountain with the law. Here's the law. Got 10 points here. Can you follow these? Because if you can't fulfill all 10 points, you fulfill the law. You fulfill it. And yet they're saying, no, but we've got a whole nother code book here. And with all these other things, we can't write it down. No, we got to, whisper it in our back rooms. And so it's been a point of contention between Sadducees and Pharisees. So they're divided. A house divided cannot stand. They're called Sadducees because they are seducers. But they say that the word goes back to the Zodokites. So the S is a corruption. It's a Z with a T in front of it. The Zodokites. I haven't done enough on that study on that to confirm the depth of that, Shelley. But that's the essence of it, I believe. And the Pharisee was Pharisha Zeh, I think, is perhaps the original on that. The word Asha was indeed in Pharisee, I'm sorry to say. But that's okay, because they were all corrupted. And the oral law, okay, so continuing here, and the, where are we at here? Okay, so they were divided as to whether it was really of a divine origin. So they didn't know, so obviously it didn't come off the mountain with Moses if they're debating whether it was divine origin. Of course not. It comes from the Hindu Aryan Brahmin. That's a Star David, Brahmin, India. Okay, continuing. As the Sadducees disappeared after the dispersion, that's a pretty good word. Disappeared after the dispersion. That's a dispersion of AD 70. So Sadducees were no longer anymore. And the rabbis inherited, that's rabbinical, that's, when you get bit by a dog, you're a rabbit. The rabbis inherited the tradition of the Pharishees. The oral law was accepted by all Orthodox. It's interesting, there's a bug spray called Ortho, and they're calling us Orthodox Jews as God's, he's using the generic term here, commandment, and was added to the Pentateuch to constitute the Torah. You see, so it was added. You can't add anything to Yahweh, his work. You can't do that. Man adding to constitute the Torah. Well, it's not the Torah. It's the law of Moses. It's the Mosaic law. But there's the bull. You see, the bull is the Torah, and or the law by which they lived. And in quite literally, they had their being. That's the Talmud. You see, so let me try that again. And so the oral law was accepted by all Orthodox Jews as God's commandment, was added to the Pentateuch, and was added to the Pentateuch, and was added to the Pentateuch to constitute what they then called the Torah. Remember, this is after Babylon, post-Babylon, Babylonian Talmud, the bull. Remember, they tried to make the bull in the wilderness. Now they're giving us your bull here, or the law by which they lived. They lived. Okay, all the codes, rules, and regulations of that pathetic, unending, voluminous, never want to read it or figure it out, let alone the alphabet that they use, representing a secret cult, obviously, which they lived and which they quite literally had their being. We could see that when you look at those pictures of those people wearing all black and they got their chimney sweep furry caps on and all the brim caps, and they're bobbing their heads back and forth like they're taking some kind of drug or something, bobbing their head back and forth like they're a little robot. That's not Israel. None of that is Israel. You can't find it anywhere there. It's all a charade on mankind. And then continuing, the 1,000-year-long process by which the oral law was built up, 1,000-year-long process by which the oral law was built up. Let's put a little more of this on. Let's put a little more of this on. Hey, let's throw in a little some of this while we're at it, shall we, guys? Given form and put into writing as the Mishnah. The 8 centuries of debate, what's the debate about? Judgment and elucidation that accumulated the 2 Gemaras as commentaries on the Mishnah, the union of the Mishnah with the shorter of these Gemaras to make the Palestinian, that's the better version. They had to have the better version, which didn't include all the other oral tradition in the written form, and with the longer to make the Babylonian Talmud. So the longer version is Babylon. This is one of the most complex, get this, this is one of the most complex and astonishing stories in the history of the human mind. Okay? Yeah, of course, world domination is quite a mind blower, isn't it? Yeah, to think you're better than everyone else, and only the quote unquote Jews are of a supreme being, and that everybody else is a goyim cattle, and then they want to say we're the victims, the world hates us. Wonder why, when they're committing fraud through the banking system, agents of the Vatican. When you look in the Catholic Encyclopedia and find out that they are the protectors of the Vatican Trust, and the Jews are the scapegoats. They're the ones that are going to take the hit for the Vatican, and let's blame the Jews. Don't blame, the Knights Malta, the Vatican rule of the unseen hand that's behind the Vatican. Quite a shell game, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a shell game. The Bible was the literature and religion of the ancient Hebrews, not Jews, and the Torah was the lifeblood of the medieval. And the Torah was the lifeblood of the medieval Jews. You see, here it is. Thank you, Will Durant, right there. Let me get my highlighter out. Okay, of the medieval. The Torah was the lifeblood. Okay, has nothing to do with the books of Moses. Give me a break. If you just follow the history of the medieval, okay, and wonder why they call them evil. Put that in your cap, okay? And because the law of the Pentateuch was written, it could not meet all the needs of these pathetic people in their circumstances of the Jerusalem Talmud without control. It says here without freedom, because see, in other words, it's a double meaning. Without the freedom of being able to change it. Just like even Gorbachev, after they collapsed the Soviet Union, he flies over to Presidio in northern San Francisco, the first military base in America, and he's bragging. Mikhail Gorbachev, the former head of the Soviet Union, is over here bragging about the American Constitution, that it was written in such a way that that it could be modified and molded or changed as time went on, and that's how they enslaved all of the Americans. With a constitution, which is really a constitutio, a Roman imperial decree, which basically is just another slave document, And so what's interesting about this double statement is, I'm going to try it again, because the law of the Pentateuch was written, it could not meet all the needs of the circumstance. In other words, since we can't change it, so what we'll do instead, with the new Jerusalem Talmud, we couldn't change it without freedom. And therefore their tradition in the Talmud, they can do anything they want, but it also changed that word freedom to control, and circumstances of a Jerusalem Talmud without control. and they maintained control, didn't they? And they took the Messiah, the Moshiach, and they thought they were going to tell him a thing or two, and they fell right into the trap of Yeshua. Continuing here, okay, so I'm going to try one more time. Because the law of the Pentateuch was written, it could not meet all the needs and circumstances of a Jerusalem Talmud without freedom or control, or a Judaism without Jerusalem, or a Jewry without Palestine. Yeah, and all the trappings and all the code words, buzzwords, changing of the letters, changing of the alphabet, changing of the meanings. Just like they said, when I started the program, and I said that all of our scriptures say that it was that Yahweh rested on ended his work on the seventh day, but no, he didn't. He ended his work on the sixth day. You see, so they make all these little changes because it's called Babylon, it's called confusion, it's called control, it's called destruction, it's called you must be stupid if you think all these things are true. Because you have to see and read it for yourself. It has to be revealed because it's all been covered. Something that is covered is not revealed. You have to wipe the dirt away, the Talmud, the mud, the slime that they have proliferated upon our world. It was the function of the Sanhedrin teachers before the dispersion and of the rabbis after it to interpret the legislation of Moses for the use and guidance of a new age or place. Their interpretations and discussions with majority and minority opinions. I love those opinions. I call it an open onion. Makes you want to cry. Let's see another picture of that Talmud, Shelley, where transmitted in one generation, and we're making lemonade out of lemons. That's right. It was the function of the Sanhedrin teachers before the dispersion and of the rabbis after it, you have to be rabbit, to interpret the legislation of Moses for the use and guidance of a new age or place. Their interpretations and discussions with majority and minority opinions were oral tradition, were transmitted from one generation of teachers to another, perhaps to keep this oral tradition flexible. Of course, got to flex, got to bend it. And interesting, because I have the dictionary on Judaica, and when I read in there, these Jewish people, Jews, not Judah, don't confuse it with Jutha or Judah, because it's not the same. In there, they all call themselves Baal for master. Baal means master. They call themselves Baal Shem Tov or Baal, Abraham, Baal this or Baal that. They're calling themselves master Baal, and that there is, again, is the evidence of the bull. Baal is bull, okay? They're following the bull, which is of the earth. The bull does not represent the sun. It represents the moon, okay? So let me continue on here in all this bull. Possibly to compel its memorizing. That's right, to keep it flexible. It was not written down because they knew they'd be killed if anybody got their hand on the full document. The rabbis who expounded the law might, on occasion, call in the help of individuals who had accomplished the feat of communicating it to memory. In the first 6 generations after the Moshiach Christ, the rabbis were called Tanaim, teachers of the oral law. As the sole experts in the law, they were at once the teachers and the judges of the communities of Palestine after the fall of the temple. Okay, last highlight here, the rabbis of Palestine and of the dispersion continue the most unique aristocracy in history. Let's hear that again. The rabbis of Palestine and of the dispersion. Remember, they were not even Israel. So this is the dispersion of a pseudo-Israel, but it's really Judaism. Judaism that is really Talmudism. Okay, had nothing. They're into commerce. They're into making money. They're into world domination. Okay, the rabbis of Palestine and of the fall, the last dispersion at the destruction of the Temple of Jerusalem in 70 AD constituted the most unique aristocracy in history. The most unique aristocracy in history. They were no closed or hereditary class. Many of them rose from the poorest ranks and then became royalty in different ways. Okay, it goes on, but I'm going to stop there. I just wanted to give you a sample of the Talmud, because most people are not. They hear about the Talmud, but they don't know what it's about or anything like that. And other than when you tune in here, you get your ear filled a little bit. And there it is, the Talmud. See the guy totally in mud, and it's as dry. Once you get out of that sticky stuff, it dries up. It's as dry as it gets, and you're stiff as a board. And you're these people. I can't get over when they took down the Twin Towers. How the Jewish people, even the head of the Mossad, as we learned through Dmitry Kazalov, who worked with the atomic energy weaponry in Soviet Union, and therefore knew that they used 15 megaton thermal nuclear hydrogen bombs to take down the Twin Towers, detonated directly below the basement, so that that everything would collapse within. And while it went right up through the chimney of the steel structure and disintegrated on everything on the way up and down. They literally danced and had a party at the torture and the destruction of other lives. That this wickedness that belongs to the Babylonian Talmud is the most abhorrent of all wickednesses. It's written in a book. It's a code that they follow. They live by. They hate your guts. They gave you your Old Testament. They gave you your New Testament. They switched out everything into the Greek and totally removed you from the Aramaic. They created new alphabets for Israel, a new alphabet for the Syrians or the Aramaeans, the Aramaic followers of Yeshua. They created a new Greek alphabet. They took away all the capital letters and took them to Rome, where they then were going to dominate the world by religion through the Roman imperial empire of religion. Okay, so it's the greatest show on earth, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what has been affecting our lives. This is why they're taking down our world, because they're good order takers, and they hate our. Obviously, if you hate everybody else, you can't have love. You don't have love. You've been brainwashed. You're brainwashed from the beginning by the continual brainwashing that goes on generationally, one generation after another. If you keep being told you're better than everybody else, hey, you're better than everybody else. You can kill these people. It don't matter. They're goyim. They're cattle. They're not like you. All the mantras of what they purport. What do you expect? Out of darkness comes darkness. Out of a corrupt tree comes a corrupt tree. Anybody want to join in? You got the number 608-566-7295, 608-566-7295. We do take calls here. You can relieve me anytime, because I'm on overload, ladies and gentlemen. I learned a lot as a political activist, and I saw what they did to people. I saw what they did to the patriots of America. They demonized them. The homeschoolers, the people who were trying to be the best, they criminalized those people. The people who taught their little ones the Constitution when they thought it was relevant, even though it's not, and homeschooled and home church and all of that. They demonized these people. They kidnapped their babies with CPS. Yeah, it's sickening. So I wanted to do the dictionary and scriptures and myths and some symbolism, but I'm going to pass on that because I can tell I'm getting hoarse, and I want to save myself for tomorrow as well. We've got Ninja Cat at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning on the Forbidden History Chronicles out of Australia. And then we'll be back on Forbidden History Live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, and so hope you got your ear filled, all right? I hope you can clean the beeswax out after the program, because they They really did it to us, ladies and gentlemen. And like my pastime was supposed to be wanting to learn about the conspiracy of the world. I had no interest in it at all. I was a homeschooler, home church, just hitting the books, reading ancient history, and then got stuck in a truck one day, started listening to talk radio. And after about a year of just listening to talk radio, I realized we were in trouble, that these psychopaths were coming to kill us all. The same people that gave us Stalinist Russia, that they always want, the Jews want you to cry about supposedly 6 million that were killed when it really didn't happen, and when it was really maybe 60,000. I actually had the Red Cross listing. I deleted it from an email. I can't believe it. I had the literal facsimile copy of the document that it was only like 60,000 who died in the concentration camps, and the rest they were feeding because they needed their labor. And but so these same Jews that want you to cry over them, feel sorry for them, and love them and kiss their big toe, literally gave us Stalinists, Russia and the Soviet Union, and where they killed 60 million. Forget 6 million, but try 60 million Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, blacks, you name it. And they called it the Bolshevik Revolution. Bolshevik meaning majority, when it was really 60 kites that came out of New York City, funded by Chase Manhattan Bank and others. 60 people called the majority, the Bolsheviks, and they got everybody to go along with the plan. And so the majority of all the people in the Soviet Gulag system, in the government system, were Jews. Okay, the majority of them were Jews, destroying the Aryans of that extreme eastern part of the world, destroying lives, sending them up to Siberia. They said for the roads that they paved all the way across that wilderness, there was a dead body for every mile, if not several dead bodies for every mile. Okay, when you ride on the highway, you're riding on dead bodies and bones. And then so my point was that what we have seen them done in our past, the forbidden history, they're doing to us today. It's the same people. It's the same people. It's the Jews. It's the Catholic institution, protected by the Knights of Malta, the Illuminatis of Europe, the royal family. They're all related. How can they all be cousins and kissing cousins and sons and daughters of all these different nations, French, German, Spanish, Scandinavian, English, you name it, and Italian, and then they're all intermarried, and they're all going to fight each other on a battlefield until all the peons to go fight this war for us, while we sit back and have champagne, caviar, and the next thing on the agenda, and it's just an amazing it's an amazing world, ladies and gentlemen, is it not? Thank you for all your compliments there, and for your thoughts. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can tell they're coming for me right now, but that's all right. They're coming for you tomorrow. Okay, coming for me today, coming for you tomorrow, and we'll all meet in the Gulag, and wonder how we got here, right? Well, the important part, ladies and gentlemen, is to dig deep on our spirituality. It's not out there that we need to be focused. It's inward. Hit the scriptures, decode it, read it, read it for yourself, learn the code words, learn the tricks, learn the trap and the trade, the craft and the trick. And of course, craft in Middle English means treason. And the tree's sons are those who cut the trees. They're the sons of the trees that created ships, wooden ships, the tree's sons. So those who were merchants on the high seas were involved in trade. They were traders because they sold everybody out in their trick and their trap and their trade with their craft, and got us on the Admiralty system, where everything in the legal parlance is on a has to do with the high seas, just like the emerging sea broadcast system, right? The emerging sea, the flood has encroached upon the land, and it is here, ladies and gentlemen. And how are we going to deal with the flood that is encroaching? It's a tsunami. So there you go. This is not a test. This is the real McCoy, ladies and gentlemen, right here, coming to you every Saturday morning. No morning about it. We're gonna look up at the sunrise. So every Saturday sunrise, well, it's about closer to high noon, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Forbidden History Live. And so just don't forget, if you want to know the future, you need to look for the Forbidden History because it's all right here. It's what they didn't want you to know. But somebody's got to do it. And we tell it right here, don't we? Of course we do. Somebody's got to do it. I'm happy to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Just come on back, tell a friend, and don't be afraid. Just come on down. We'd love to hear from you. Desert Owl signing off. Back to you, Shelley.